Liam stepped carefully through the shattered corridors of the ruined space station. Dust and broken panels floated in the low gravity, and the dim emergency lights cast long, flickering shadows across the walls. He adjusted his helmet and scanned the room with the light on his wrist. Everywhere he looked, the station showed signs of a sudden abandonment, tools scattered, monitors shattered, and a strange silence that pressed against his ears. Something about it felt wrong. It was not just the emptiness, it was the feeling of being watched, as if the walls themselves remembered the people who had once lived here. "Liam, are you sure this is safe?" Clara's voice came through the calm, soft but tense. She was right behind him, carefully stepping over a broken railing. She was small, but her eyes were sharp, moving from shadow to shadow as though expecting something to jump out. "It doesn't feel right," she added. "I don't know why, but I feel like we shouldn't be here." Liam shook his head, forcing a grin behind his helmet. "We are explorers, Clara. It's what we do. Besides, the scans showed something worth looking at. We can't just turn around now." He moved further into the room, and his light caught something gleaming under a pile of rubble. It was a crystal, unlike anything he had ever seen before. It glowed softly, a pale blue light that pulsed as if it had a heartbeat of its own. Liam's breath caught. "Wait, what is that?" Clara stepped closer, her hand instinctively reaching out. "It's beautiful." Liam crouched and carefully picked it up. The crystal was warm to the touch, and faint symbols appeared along its surface the moment his fingers brushed it. They were not letters he recognized, nor numbers or images. Yet, somehow he could feel the meaning behind them like a whisper at the edge of thought. The symbols moved and shifted slightly as though alive. This is incredible," Liam said, his voice shaking. "It's some kind of record. A message from whoever was here before." Clara frowned, watching the shifting lights on the crystal. "But why would it be left here just sitting? And why does it feel, warning us?" Liam tilted the crystal to see more of the symbols. One phrase appeared repeatedly, clearer than the rest. His heart skipped a beat. "Clara, it says, leave them sleeping." Clara stepped back, her hand covering her mouth. "What? Who are they talking about?" I think it means humans," Liam said slowly, almost afraid to voice it. "I don't know why, but this crystal, all of these records talk about a single species, and it keeps warning the same thing, leave them sleeping." A cold shiver ran down Clara's spine. "Humans? That's us. But why would anyone warn others about us? We're just a planet with some technology, some colonies out in space. We're nothing compared to the civilizations that left this station." Liam's hand trembled as he held the crystal closer. "I don't know, Clara. I really don't know. But whatever these people, or aliens, were afraid of, it's us. And they weren't afraid in a normal way. It's like they knew something we haven't even realized yet." They moved further into the room, searching for more clues. The walls were lined with panels, many broken or inactive, but a few still flickered. On one, a holographic map activated when Liam approached, showing stars and planets connected by lines. Among them was a single blue dot, Earth. Clara gasped. "Liam, look. That's Earth." "Yes," Liam said softly, almost in disbelief. "All these records point to our planet. Every warning, every note, it's all about us." They spent hours exploring the station. Each room they entered had more crystals, more records, all repeating the same phrase, leave them sleeping. It was written in different languages, in different symbols, in forms of writing that spanned centuries. The message was clear. Whoever had been here had tried to reach others across the galaxy, leaving warnings about humanity. Clara finally sat on the floor, exhausted and confused. "But we're not dangerous. We're explorers, scientists, farmers, regular people. How could anyone see us as a threat?" Liam knelt beside her, looking at the glowing crystal. "I don't think it's about strength, Clara. It's about potential. About what humans can become if we keep growing, learning, surviving. They must have seen us at our worst and our best, and they realized, we're unpredictable. Dangerous in a way that no one can control." Clara shivered again. "So, they left these warnings hoping no one would come? Or maybe hoping we never wake up to it?" Liam looked out at the broken station through the viewports. The stars stretched infinitely in every direction, cold and distant. Maybe. Or maybe it's just a test. They wanted to see if we would find the truth for ourselves. Hours passed as they documented everything. Liam copied the symbols, recorded the holographic maps, and took photos of every crystal. With each step, the warning felt heavier, like a weight pressing down on their shoulders. They realized that whatever had left this station had tried and failed many times, and now humanity had been quietly noted among the stars. Finally, Liam stood, holding the first crystal high. We need to take this back. We need to understand it fully. If this is a warning, we have to know what it means. Clara nodded reluctantly. Yes, but it feels like we're opening a door we shouldn't touch. I know, Liam admitted. But curiosity is what we are. That's why humans survive. We explore, we learn, we keep moving forward. Maybe that's why they were so afraid of us in the first place. They gathered the remaining crystals and carefully moved toward the ship's docking bay. Every step felt heavier than the last, the glow of the records illuminating their faces in a cold, otherworldly light. Each symbol whispered a silent story, a warning, a hope, and a fear, all directed at them. As they reached the ship, Liam paused and looked back at the station. I wonder how many civilizations ignored this warning, and what happened to them. Clara followed his gaze, feeling a mix of awe and unease. I hope we're ready for what it means. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and Earth's blue dot awaited silently, unknowing and untouched. Somewhere in the galaxy, someone, or something, had noticed humanity, feared them, and left a warning for those who would come after. Liam and Clara didn't know the full truth yet, but they knew one thing with certainty. The warning was real, and they had just begun to understand it. And as they prepared to leave, the crystals continued to glow softly, as if aware that humans had found them. Leave them sleeping. The words echoed in Liam's mind, haunting yet strangely proud. He turned to Clara, voice quiet but firm. We found the warning, now we have a choice. We can heed it, or we can wake up fully and see what we can become. Clara took a deep breath, her hand brushing against the crystal in his. Maybe, that's what they were afraid of all along. The ship hummed as they lifted off, leaving the ruined station behind. The stars stretched infinitely, and somewhere far in the galaxy, ancient eyes watched, waiting and remembering. Ella sat in the dim light of the ship's lab, staring at the holographic symbols floating in front of her. Each one twisted and turned as if alive, shifting from sharp angles to smooth curves in a rhythm she could almost feel. She had been decoding alien messages for years, but this was unlike anything she had ever seen. The symbols were not just words, they were instructions, warnings, and histories all at once. She touched the nearest symbol with her finger, and it reacted, glowing brighter and rearranging itself into something she could understand. Rapid adaptation, she whispered, reading the translation that appeared on her screen. Her eyes widened. Unpredictable strategy, survival beyond expectation. Noah, who had been leaning against the lab wall, frowned deeply. Every race that came here failed, he muttered. Every single one. They all tried to understand the humans, and every time they failed. Ella looked up at him, her brow furrowed. Failed? But humans are just a small species on one planet. How could they scare anyone so much? Noah shook his head slowly, staring at the symbols. It's not about size. It's about potential. These civilizations saw something in humans they couldn't control. Something they didn't even fully understand. The lights in the lab flickered suddenly. Ella jumped, dropping her stylus. What was that? She asked, looking around nervously. Noah stepped closer to the console. The ship, he said. It's reacting to the records. I've never seen it do this before. Ella nodded, feeling a chill run down her spine. She had worked on alien artifacts before, but nothing had ever affected the ship like this. It was almost as if the crystals and symbols carried an energy that connected to the vessel, reacting to their presence. She touched the console again, and the symbols shifted into a sequence that she could almost read like a story. Look, Noah. They're showing attempts. Attempts of races coming to Earth, learning its secrets and failing. Every single civilization tried to study humans, tried to control or understand them. None succeeded. Noah ran his hand through his hair. And yet here we are, trying the same thing. We've only just started, and I already feel like we're walking a dangerous path. Ella's eyes stayed on the symbols. Dangerous? Maybe. But we have to know. That's why we're explorers. That's why we're here. If we don't understand it, someone else will, and the consequences could be worse. The ship hummed louder, and the lights flickered again as if responding to her words. Ella shivered, sensing that whatever energy these symbols carried was aware of them. Aware that humans had finally reached this part of the galaxy. Noah walked over to the observation window, staring at the stars beyond. It's incredible, really. All those civilizations, and they were terrified. Scared of a single species on a small blue planet. It doesn't make sense until you think about humans. Ella looked at him curiously. What do you mean? Noah's eyes were serious. We're unpredictable. We survive in conditions others think are impossible. We find ways to adapt. We learn from failure faster than any species I've ever studied. That's why they were scared. They weren't afraid of us being strong, they were afraid we were unstoppable in ways they couldn't calculate. Ella thought about it. So, it's not about weapons or armies, it's about us being clever, resourceful, dangerous in ways no one expects. Noah nodded. Exactly. And it's not just that. Look at the records. They show humans outsmarting traps, overcoming disasters, and even turning challenges against their enemies. They're a species that grows stronger every time something tries to stop them. And that terrifies everyone who studies them. Ella leaned back, her mind spinning. I always thought of humans as normal, ordinary. But maybe normal is exactly what makes them extraordinary. The flickering of the ship's lights grew stronger. Alarms beeped softly as the vessel adjusted its systems, as if trying to stabilize itself against some invisible force. Ella felt her stomach tighten. Noah, the ship, it's like it's alive. Like it knows what we're reading and it's reacting. Noah's face was tense. I've seen ships react to radiation, to alien energy, even to black holes. But never to information, to knowledge. This is new. Something about these records is different. It's almost alive, like it carries the memory of everyone who ever studied humans. Ella's eyes widened. Memory? You mean, like it's warning us? Noah nodded slowly. Exactly. It's a warning. And the strange thing is, it's not just a warning to stay away. It's a warning to not underestimate them. Humans are dangerous in a way no one can predict. Ella swallowed hard. But what if we fail? What if we can't understand it before it's too late? Noah put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We won't fail. We're explorers, yes, but humans are also explorers. It's in our nature to adapt, to survive, to keep going no matter what. That's why the civilizations feared us. They saw our nature and knew it couldn't be controlled. The holographic symbols shifted again, showing a scene of a human settlement on Earth. It was primitive in appearance, yet everywhere there were signs of ingenuity, bridges built across rivers, complex farming systems, early technologies. Even at a glance, the humans were learning, adapting, surviving. Ella whispered, they're just humans. They look so ordinary, but somehow, they're extraordinary. And these civilizations, they knew it. That's why they left the warning. Noah looked at her, a grim expression on his face. And now we found it. We are seeing what they feared most. That's why the ship reacted. The records have been waiting for humans to understand their own power. Ella took a deep breath, staring at the glowing symbols. So, what do we do now? We can't ignore this. We can't pretend it's just another alien artifact. This is different. This is about us. About humanity. Noah nodded slowly. We learn. We record. We understand. But we proceed carefully. Whatever these civilizations feared, it's real. And it's been waiting for us. As the ship hummed and the lights flickered, Ella felt a strange mix of awe and fear. The symbols continued to glow, shifting and pulsing as if alive. She reached out and touched one, feeling a subtle warmth spread through her hand. It was a warning, yes, but also a promise. Humanity had been noticed. Humanity had been marked. And humanity had potential beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Hours passed as they worked tirelessly to decode the symbols. Each new line revealed more of the history of alien encounters with humans. Attempts to study, attempts to control, attempts to interfere. All had failed. Each failure had been recorded in meticulous detail, with notes of fear and astonishment. Noah finally leaned back, exhausted. I think I understand now, he said quietly. They weren't afraid of what humans were. They were afraid of what we could become. And every civilization that underestimated us paid the price. Ella nodded, staring at the final glowing symbol. We need to take this back. The galaxy needs to know, but also maybe we need to be careful. They left this warning for a reason. Noah looked out the viewport, at the distant blue dot of Earth shining quietly in the void. Careful, he whispered. Yes, but also proud. We are humans. And maybe it's time we start realizing just how extraordinary that is. Maya sat at the communication console, her fingers hovering over the controls. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the ship's viewport, calm and silent, yet filled with untold secrets. She took a deep breath and activated the long-range comm link. A soft hum filled the room as the connection stabilized, and soon holographic figures began to appear, representatives from other civilizations across the galaxy. Each one looked different, some insect-like, some reptilian, others with shapes humans would struggle to even describe. Yet they all had the same purpose: knowledge, warnings, and caution. Maya's voice was steady but quiet. We need to discuss Earth. There are records suggesting it is significant. Can anyone confirm this? One of the alien representatives, tall and thin with shimmering blue skin, responded first. Its voice was a series of musical tones that Maya's translation module converted instantly. Earth is untouchable. Any interference, any attempt to control or study its inhabitants, ends in disaster. We cannot approach and we cannot interfere. Another representative, this one with 3 eyes and a thick, armored shell, added, every civilization that tried has failed. The species that lives there is unpredictable beyond measure. It adapts too quickly, thinks too differently, and survives against odds no one should. Maya exchanged a glance with Ethan, who had been silent up to this point. Ethan's jaw was tight as he leaned against the side of the console, his eyes focused on the holographic representatives. They are talking about humans, he said slowly. They are saying the same things we've seen. Humans survive where others fail. Humans adapt where others perish. Humans are different. Maya nodded. Yes. And apparently, every civilization that came near has recognized this. That's why the records exist, warnings left for anyone who might follow. Ethan walked toward the observation deck, looking out at the distant blue and green swirl of Earth. I don't think they realized exactly how much humans can do. Look at us. We're clever. We think fast, work together, and survive in ways no one predicts. And that terrifies the galaxy. Maya followed him, her eyes fixed on the glowing planet. Terrifies them, because we're still small, still unknown, and yet unstoppable if we keep growing. That's what the records are warning about. Not our strength now, but our potential. Ethan frowned, his mind replaying reports from the records and past alien encounters. They tried to trap humans. Every time they thought they had an advantage, humans found a way out. The records showed traps, wars, sabotage, and each time humans adapted, survived, and even turned the situation in their favor. Maya crossed her arms, thinking carefully. It's almost like humans are unpredictable by design. Every challenge we face, we find a solution, and sometimes that solution is something no one could have imagined. Ethan shook his head. And the aliens who left these warnings, they weren't just observers. They tried to calculate outcomes, predict our behavior, and failed every time. That's what's terrifying about humans, they can't be fully predicted or controlled. The flickering of the ship's lights reminded them of the strange energy they had felt in the alien records. Do you think the records themselves are alive? Maya asked softly. Not alive like us but aware? Watching, recording, judging, waiting for someone like us to find them. Ethan nodded slowly. Maybe. Every system we've seen react to the records shows it's more than data. It's like a memory, a warning encoded in energy. The civilizations left pieces of themselves in it, everything they tried, everything they feared, so no one else would make the same mistake. Maya looked back at the holograms of the alien representatives. And here we are, following in their footsteps. Reading the same warnings, seeing the same records, and realizing that humans are already remarkable even before anyone fully notices it. Ethan leaned closer to the observation deck, watching a group of humans on Earth through a powerful sensor array. The people were ordinary, walking through cities, farming, building, exploring. Yet every movement carried efficiency and coordination, every action a hint of intelligence and resilience far beyond what the galaxy expected. They're far beyond what anyone expected, Ethan muttered, more to himself than to Maya. And they don't even know it yet. Maya's eyes softened. That's the point. They're sleeping giants. The records warn us not to wake them, but we are awake. We see them now, and we have to understand what that means. Humanity is not just a species, it's a force waiting to grow, to adapt, to survive anything. Ethan nodded grimly. Every trap, every test, every attempt to control humans has failed. And it will continue to fail because humans don't just react, they evolve. They learn. They turn disadvantages into advantages. That's why the galaxy feared them. That's why the records exist. Maya turned to the console and activated a series of holographic screens showing alien encounters on Earth. The sequences displayed humans overcoming traps, avoiding surveillance, outsmarting technology far beyond their level, and surviving natural disasters with ingenuity that seemed impossible. Look at this, she said softly. Humans aren't just surviving, they're thriving. And no one expected it. Ethan leaned on the railing, his eyes scanning the images. No one could expect it. That's why the records say, leave them sleeping. They knew if humans fully realized their potential, the galaxy would not be ready. And yet here we are. Observing, learning, waiting. Maya shivered slightly. It's strange. We're meant to be careful. The warnings are clear. But at the same time, it's hard not to feel proud. Humans are remarkable. Ordinary in appearance, yes, but extraordinary in reality. Ethan smiled faintly, almost sadly. Ordinary, yet unstoppable. Every species that came here underestimated them. And we almost did too. That's why it's so important we understand this now. We can't make the same mistake. Maya looked out at the humans, the holographic stars reflecting in her eyes. They are not yet aware of the galaxy watching them. But they are already capable of things no one else could imagine. And maybe one day they will realize just how powerful they are. The ship hummed around them, quiet yet alive with energy as the records continued to pulse softly. Maya reached out to touch the holographic symbols, and a warm glow spread through her fingertips. It was as if the records themselves recognized that humans were awake, finally understood, and being observed by allies who were starting to grasp their true potential. Ethan joined her, looking thoughtful. We've seen it now. We know what the warnings mean. Humans are extraordinary. They're clever, resilient, and unpredictable. And if the galaxy has learned to fear them, maybe it's time we do too. But not in fear, pride. Pride that we are human, and that our species has survived against all odds. Maya nodded, her heart pounding with excitement and awe. Yes, pride and caution. We have to study them, understand them, but never forget the warnings. They are extraordinary, yes, but the galaxy has known that a long time before we did. Ethan turned back to the stars, letting the weight of the knowledge settle over him. The warnings were clear. But the potential is beyond anything we could have imagined. Noah leaned over the control console of the ship, watching the small scouting drone as it approached Earth. The drone had been sent weeks ago, equipped with sensors and cameras, designed to monitor the planet and gather data without being detected. So far, the readings had been normal. Cities, oceans, forests, humans going about their lives. But now, as the drone crossed over a major city, the readings began to change. Something was interfering with the drone systems, and the data it was supposed to collect started to become unusual. Sophie, who had been monitoring the drone from the observation deck, gasped. Noah, look at this. The drone, it's not failing. It's being rerouted. Noah's eyes widened as he leaned closer to the console. Rerouted? By what? He asked. The drone had been programmed to follow strict instructions, its flight path calculated down to the millimeter. Nothing in its programming allowed for deviation, yet its course was slowly shifting, avoiding detection zones, moving with a precision that suggested intelligence. They're doing it themselves, Sophie whispered, pointing at the holographic display showing the drone's altered path. Humans, they're controlling it. Without us noticing. Noah stared at the screen, stunned. Impossible. We programmed it to be autonomous, with AI that adapts to obstacles, but humans shouldn't even notice it exists. They haven't developed technology this advanced, at least not publicly. And yet, somehow they're guiding it. Sophie shook her head, her face pale. They're hiding their cleverness, Noah. They know how to act ordinary to seem normal, but they're manipulating the drone without even trying. Noah ran a hand through his hair, trying to make sense of it. All our calculations, our predictions about human behavior, they're wrong. Every single one. We thought we understood them. We didn't even come close. The drone moved smoothly, almost gracefully, around detection satellites and orbital monitoring systems. Its sensors were adjusted subtly, taking readings that made it appear as though it were following its programmed path, while in reality, it was avoiding every trap and every observation. Sophie's voice trembled. It's like they're playing with us. They're aware we're watching them, and they're making sure we don't notice. Noah nodded slowly, still staring at the drone. It's not just clever. Strategic. They're thinking ahead. Every step we take, they adapt. Every move we plan, they account for it without even revealing themselves. Sophie looked back at Earth through the observation window, her eyes wide. From orbit, the planet seemed calm, peaceful, completely ordinary. Yet the activity below told a different story. Humans were not as simple as they appeared. They were organized, aware, and capable of extraordinary problem-solving, even without advanced machines. Noah turned to Sophie, his voice low and serious. All the warnings, all the records we've read, they weren't exaggerating. Humans are more capable than anyone imagined. And we've just seen a hint of it. The drone continued its path, moving past cities and military installations, adjusting its route to avoid being detected. It was collecting information, yes, but on its own terms. The humans were not only aware of it, they were controlling it, guiding it to safety, testing its limits without revealing themselves. Sophie pressed her hand to her mouth. Noah, they're thinking faster than we are. They're learning from every attempt to monitor them. Every move we make, they already accounted for it. Noah felt a chill run down his spine. Every calculation we've made about their behavior, wrong. Every estimate about what they can do, underestimated. We've been assuming they act like predictable creatures. They don't. They never have. And now we're seeing it firsthand. The lights in the ship flickered slightly as if reacting to their realization. The energy from the alien records they had been studying seemed to hum in agreement, confirming that the humans below were extraordinary. Sophie's gaze stayed on the planet. They're hiding in plain sight. That's the most dangerous thing about them. You think they're ordinary, but underneath, they're extraordinary. And they've been like that all along. Noah leaned back in his chair, trying to process everything. It's not just intelligence, he said slowly. It's awareness, strategy, foresight. They know when they're being observed. They know when someone is trying to predict them. And they respond in ways no one else could imagine. The drone had now circled several major cities, bypassed satellites, and even avoided automated orbital defenses without a single error. It was as though an unseen hand guided it, subtly and precisely, all while humans went about their daily lives below, unaware of the attention from above, or deliberately pretending to be unaware. Sophie whispered almost to herself, and yet, they look so ordinary. They don't even need to act extraordinary. Just living, just surviving, and they're already rewriting the rules. Noah stared at the holographic map, tracking the drone's path. We assumed we could measure them, predict them, and calculate their limits. But humans, they don't have limits we can measure. And that's exactly what makes them dangerous. That's why every civilization feared them. That's why the records warned us. Sophie nodded, shivering slightly. They're clever, yes. But more than that, they're alive in ways no one expects. They adapt faster than any species we've encountered. They think in ways we can't predict. And they survive against odds that should destroy them. Noah's expression darkened. And that means, we have to be careful. We've only seen a small piece of their ability. What they've done to reroute this drone, it's just a hint. Imagine what they could do if they realized we were fully aware of them, fully watching them. The ship hummed around them, quiet but filled with energy as the drone continued its mission. Both Noah and Sophie sat in stunned silence, watching as humans below manipulated technology they had no right to understand, avoiding observation, and surviving the scrutiny of an entire ship orbiting above. Sophie finally spoke, her voice trembling slightly with awe. We were wrong. Every calculation, every estimate, it's all wrong. We assumed humans were ordinary, but they're not. And the galaxy has been terrified of them for a reason. Noah nodded slowly, still staring at the drone. Yes. Terrified, underestimated, and unprepared for what humans can do. We've seen just the beginning. And I think the rest of the galaxy will understand the same lesson one day. But we're seeing it first. Sophie turned to him, her eyes wide. So, what do we do now? Do we warn others? Or do we leave them alone like the record said? Noah shook his head, deep in thought. We observe, we learn, and we prepare. The records warned us for a reason. Humans are powerful, clever, and unpredictable. Every move we make now has to account for that. Otherwise, we will fail like every civilization that came before us. The drone finally completed its mission, returning to orbit without a single error, a testament to human ingenuity and adaptability. Noah and Sophie sat quietly for a long moment, absorbing the reality of what they had just witnessed. They're ordinary, Sophie said finally, but they're extraordinary. And no one is ready for them. The crew gathered in the main conference room of the Aegis Nova, the atmosphere tense and heavy. The glow from the galaxy outside the windows cast long shadows across the room, highlighting the worry etched on every face. Maps of Earth, star charts, and alien records floated on holographic displays, showing the team just how much attention humans had already drawn across the galaxy. The question that hung over them all was simple but terrifying. Should they interfere with humanity's development or leave them alone, as the ancient warnings insisted? Noah was the first to speak, pacing slowly. We've seen what humans can do. They rerouted our drone, avoided every detection, survived situations that would destroy most species. They're clever, resourceful, and adaptable beyond anything we expected. Interfering with them, it's dangerous. Sophie leaned forward, her hands gripping the edge of the table. Dangerous, yes, but what if we don't act? What if the galaxy assumes we've left them unchecked? Could they grow too strong? Could they become a threat if we do nothing? Maya shook her head, her voice calm but firm. Any action could mean disaster. Every civilization that tried to control or study them ended up failing. Some were destroyed, some disappeared. Humans are unpredictable. Even now, they're clever enough to hide what they know, what they can do. Interference could trigger consequences we cannot foresee. Ethan stayed silent at first, watching the holographic images of human settlements, cities, and technology. He studied their movements, the coordination between humans, and the subtle signs of intelligence even in their most ordinary actions. Finally, he spoke quietly, almost as if thinking out loud. Maybe, no choice is the best choice. Maybe leaving them alone is the safest way. We've already seen the consequences of interference, and we don't want to make the same mistake. Liam frowned, rubbing the back of his neck. But can we really just stand by? We know what they're capable of. The records, the drones, everything we've seen. Humans are extraordinary. Leaving them alone feels like ignoring a storm building in the distance. Maya's gaze was steady, her voice firm. No, Liam. We are not ignoring a storm. We are acknowledging it. We understand its power, its unpredictability, and the risks involved. The galaxy left us warnings for a reason. Sometimes the smartest choice is to watch, to learn, and to respect boundaries. Sophie crossed her arms, still unsettled. But what if humanity never becomes aware of its own potential? Should we wait for them to reach a point where they can't be controlled, or influenced, or guided? We could help them avoid mistakes, save them from disasters, or prepare them for challenges ahead. Isn't that worth something? Ethan shook his head slowly. No, Sophie. Every civilization that tried to guide humans made the same mistake. They thought they were helping. They thought they understood humans. And every time humans surprised them, adapted faster, reacted smarter, and survived situations no one expected. Any intervention could lead to the same disaster. Maybe our interference would make things worse, not better. Noah paused, leaning on the table, deep in thought. We've watched humans manipulate the drone, avoid detection, survive tests we didn't even know they were taking. They're already playing a long game. And every step we take now, every choice we make could be part of that game whether we like it or not. Are we ready for that? Maya's eyes softened, but her voice remained serious. That's why we have to be cautious. The records warned us for a reason. Humans are extraordinary, yes, but extraordinary can be dangerous. Any action, however well-intended, could spark consequences we cannot predict, and the galaxy will pay the price. Liam exhaled slowly, looking down at the table. So, we just do nothing? We observe, we learn, and we wait? That feels wrong. I can't help but feel like we're sitting on the edge of something that could explode. Ethan looked at him, calm but firm. Doing nothing is not weakness, Liam. Doing nothing in this case is wisdom. Humans are already extraordinary. The galaxy has underestimated them for centuries. Letting them grow, letting them adapt without interference, it may be the only way to survive the future. Sophie's eyes darted toward the holographic images of human life below, cities bustling with activity, humans inventing, building, surviving disasters with ingenuity that was subtle but unmistakable. I can see why the galaxy feared them, she whispered. Even now they are extraordinary. And yet, they seem so small, so ordinary. How could anyone predict this? Noah leaned back, rubbing his eyes. That's exactly it. Humans hide their potential behind ordinariness. Every trap they face, every challenge they encounter, they adapt. They survive. They turn disadvantages into advantages. And that's why every civilization feared them. That's why the records exist, to warn anyone who would underestimate them. Maya folded her hands, looking at each crew member. We've seen the warnings. We've observed humans manipulate our technology, survive tests, and evade detection. The evidence is clear. Humans are not to be interfered with. Any attempt to guide or control them could be catastrophic. Sometimes, the best choice is the hardest choice: restraint. Ethan nodded quietly, his gaze still on the images of Earth below. Restraint. That's what we must do. Watch, learn, and respect their potential. The galaxy has failed before us because it did not respect humans. We are the first to truly understand them, and with understanding comes responsibility. Our responsibility is to leave them alone, for now. Sophie sighed, though she knew he was right. It still feels wrong, she said softly. We know what they're capable of. Leaving them alone feels like we're missing an opportunity, like we're failing to help them reach their potential safely. Maya shook her head. No. We are not failing them. We are respecting them. Respecting the warnings. Humans are clever, adaptable, and unpredictable. They will grow and they will survive. Our role is not to interfere but to understand, to witness, and to prepare ourselves for what is coming. The galaxy left the warnings for a reason. We ignore them at our own risk. Liam ran a hand across the table, staring at the star charts. I just hope we made the right choice. There's so much we don't know. Humans, they are extraordinary, yes, but can we really trust that leaving them alone is enough? Ethan's voice was calm but firm. We don't need to trust it. We need to accept it. Humans will grow in ways we cannot predict. Any interference could change everything. Sometimes the hardest choice is the one that requires patience, restraint, and humility. Watching them, learning from them, that is our task. Sophie finally nodded, her eyes returning to the holographic images. I suppose. I just never expected them to be this remarkable. Even now, when we're watching quietly, they continue to surprise us. Noah looked at the stars, the blue dot of Earth shining quietly in the distance. And that's exactly why the warnings exist. Humans are extraordinary, and the galaxy has been trying to warn everyone for centuries. We see it now and we understand it. That is enough for today. We leave them alone. For now. Maya gave a small, approving nod. Yes. Observation, understanding, restraint. That is our role. And perhaps, one day humans will awaken to their full potential. Until then, we respect their space, their time, and their freedom. The crew fell silent, each member lost in thought, staring at the holographic images of Earth below. The decision had been made, the warnings heeded. Humans would continue their lives, unaware of the eyes watching from above, unaware of the galaxy that had feared them for so long. And the Aegis Nova hummed softly, a silent observer of a species that was extraordinary beyond measure. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, cold and silent. On Earth, humans continued their ordinary lives, building, surviving, inventing. And the galaxy waited, holding its breath, while humans grew, adapted, and evolved in ways no one had predicted. And somewhere deep in the pulse of the alien records, the warning remained: leave them sleeping. But the crew of the Aegis Nova had chosen restraint. They had chosen to watch, to learn, and to respect the potential of humanity. For now, the choice to interfere was left unmade, and the future, uncertain, extraordinary, and full of possibility, awaited.